and then we'll have Maggie speak, and then Annie, and we'll finish off with Shauna. The work in Canada has been going on really since the 80s, since the 1980s at least. But even before then, many of the Indo-Canadian communities in the country did get together to celebrate October 2nd. But 1986 was an important year because it was the International Year of Peace. And as we did here in Edmonton, several of the communities across the country marked it by doing something to acknowledge the presence of Gandhi and the importance of Gandhiji in our lives in Canada and the rest of the world. There are several, now there are several statues and busts of Gandhiji across the country, but at the time in 1986, two came into being. Two were established, one in Vancouver and one in Edmonton. The one in Edmonton became the spark for one of the organizations that I will talk to you about. But let me also tell you that there are really four Gandhian organizations that I know about that have been doing a lot of work in Canada. Three that have been around for quite a while and one that is relatively new. So let me start by telling you a little bit about the Gandhi Peace Council in Ottawa. They have been in existence for about 15 years. They have done several major initiatives around public education in the Ottawa area, and have also now have a statue since 2012. They established a statue of Gandhiji at one of the universities in Ottawa, and every year there's a garlanding ceremony on October 2nd. They are this year, as we all are, doing things online, and so they will be celebrating on October 3rd with a public lecture called Mahatma Gandhi, Beyond the Civil Rights Movement. What you see with the Peace Council is, as it is with all of these organizations in Canada, that much of our work is focused on education, either public education or education in the kindergarten to grade 12 setting. And so this particular organization has very close ties with Carleton University in Ottawa, and they've also done a lot of work looking at community relations in Ottawa. The second group that I want to just mention is in Hamilton, Ontario, which is very close to Toronto, for those of you who don't know the geography of Canada. In Hamilton, for several years, they have had the Gandhi Peace Festival. And the Peace Festival traditionally starts on September 21st and continues to October 2nd. The organization, the Peace Festival, is also connected very closely with McMaster University in Hamilton. And this organization has also done quite a lot of work supporting students, university students, to go to India to learn about Gandhi. And they have also worked very closely with the Mahila Shanti Sena movement in the northeast part of India. It's an amazing organization, and this year their focus is on Black Lives Matter, and they'll be having a public lecture on October 2nd on what does that mean? What does Black Lives Matter mean, and how does it connect to the Gandhian message? The third organization I want to tell you about is very new, and Annie and I are both part of it. It's called IGINP Canada, the International Gandhian Institute for Nonviolence and Peace in Canada. And what we have been doing, we've only been in existence for about 2 years, and we came into being really to support IGINP in Madurai. and also the work of Ekta Prashad and Jai Jagat. And over the last 2 years, a big part of our focus has been both on developing an educational program that we are offering in Madurai, but also on doing some fundraising for the Jai Jagat. Before the pandemic hit, we had raised about $7,000 for Jai Jagat, and excuse me, since March, we've raised about another 3,000. So we're continuing to do as much as we can. We believe very strongly in this goal of, in the goals of the Jai Jagat. And we are ever so grateful to our friends who are marching towards Geneva right now, and to all of our friends who participated in the Jai Jagat March. All right, so the last organization that I'm going to tell you about is the Mahatma Gandhi Canadian Foundation for World Peace. I say we because I'm one of the co-chairs of that organization, and and Maggie is the secretary for that organization. We started really with the establishment of the bust in 1986, but formally the organization started in 88. For 2 years, people just got together and did some commemoration events on October 2nd. But in 1988, the organization came together and with a focus on education. And like our sister organizations in Ottawa and Hamilton, we too have a very close relationship with the University of Alberta here in Edmonton. And with the University of Alberta, we've done many things, including public lectures, scholarships, and most recently, for the last 15 years, we did a summer institute called the Mahatma Gandhi Summer Institute for Building Peaceful Communities. This was a 2-week event for teachers and other educators to come together to learn about what it means to work for a peaceful community, and to actually think about what that would be in their own practice. This year, as with our other colleagues, we are trying to be a little more creative about our celebrations. Again, all of us usually have a banquet. We usually have a garlanding ceremony. We usually have some kind of public event with speakers, but none of that is possible this year. So what we have done is there will be a virtual garlanding ceremony on October 2nd. And I invite you to check our website. It's the Mahatma Gandhi Canadian Foundation. So you can Google it and find the website, and you'll find the information for the garlanding there if you'd like to join us. We are also undertaking something that was inspired by the Gandhi Indian Collective, who have been undertaking a relay fast since the beginning of June. We were so inspired by what they were doing that we thought we would try our own relay fast, and we could not do 3 or 4 months worth of commitment, but we have started on September 21st. Several of us joined with the global fast, and yesterday Annie fasted, and she will tell you a little bit more about what she did for her fast when she speaks. Tomorrow, Maggie will fast, and today, Shauna is fasting. So each one of them is going to talk to you a little bit about why they decided to join this initiative, what they're fasting for, and how they feel it connects to the goals of Jai Jagat. In particular, what I want to say is that I think that this has opened up an opportunity for us to think about how, as individuals, even when we are isolated, there are things that we can do there are ways in which we can make a difference. And we've been receiving amazing messages from people who have joined in our fast, people who we didn't know were joining in our fast, but have sent messages of support and have told us that they too are working with us. And our fast is a North American fast. We have people from the United States and Canada fasting for a variety of different reasons, all related to justice and peace, and creating justice and peace in our communities, in our countries, in our continent, in our world. And I myself will be fasting on October 2nd with a number of my colleagues who are with the other Gandhian organizations I mentioned to you. And each one of us will be fasting for our own particular purpose, but again, collectively for justice and peace in the world. With that, I will turn it over to Maggie first, because Maggie actually may have to leave a little early because she's at work and has another commitment. But we'll start with Maggie and we'll move on from there. So thank you very much. And Maggie, we'll turn it to you.
Good morning, everybody. Such an honor to be here and so lovely to meet you via Zoom. Just for a quick moment, I'm going to give you a visual, if I may. There we go. This is the homepage of the Edmonton Mahatma Gandhi Foundation. There's the URL there. So if it looks like this, you've landed in the right place. And the other thing I wanted to share was an image of the bus that Revaji mentioned. This bus is currently behind drywall because the main branch of the city library where it's displayed is currently under renovations. But this is a photograph, I believe, from 2 years ago in the Garlanding. So that is just something to keep in your imagination. Thank you for the indulgence. First of all, can you hear me? Well, okay, just nod or smile. Okay, thank you. I am the secretary for the foundation this year, but I've been involved most recently for the last year, and then previously in other years, I took a little bit of time off to complete a doctorate, so which the foundation was incredibly emotionally and spiritually supportive of me in that. But it's I'm here today to talk about why I'm undertaking a fast, which is not something that I've ever done before. So I'm new to this type of activism, to this type of personal engagement, and my cause that I'm passionate about is the advancement of public education. Now, we're all advocates for education. I chose public education particularly, and for the advancement of public education systems around the world, because that institution is under threat wherever it happens to be, and it's certainly under threat here in Alberta and in the United States and in other areas of the world where it hasn't taken hold. But public education is the institution that raises the floor for everyone. And my day job, my other life, I work for the Alberta Teachers Association. Teachers are amazing as a group. They are always pulling rabbits out of their hats and keeping all the plates spinning, and I could never be one, but it's a privilege to work for them. So I see the effects of public education every day. I see dedicated professionals and paraprofessionals and parents and stakeholders working diligently to preserve that institution with great gusto and great passion, and it's sometimes considerable personal sacrifice. So I am fasting for that reason, and I am so humbled and so inspired by the actions of Jai Jagat worldwide, and it's a privilege to be involved even on the periphery. So thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing more about all of you.
Thanks, Maggie. Um, I wonder, Maggie, if you wanted to just say a little bit about how you see public education connected to the notion of justice and peace.
Oh, thank you, Reva. Certainly, public education is as I said, is it levels the playing field. It provides um, communities with community members who are able to critically think, to think creatively, to act collectively, to work towards the betterment of all, to overcome poverty, to create create opportunities for human potential to thrive. And where that happens, I think we find that the goals of justice and peace are concomitant with that. When you are educated in a way that helps you see the potential, then hungry for it, and you are willing to pursue that, and you're, I think, intolerant of continued poverty and continued injustice. And so I says intimately connect foundational institution for achieving those goals personally and in the community.
Thanks, Maggie. All right, so I think we'll go to Annie next and ask Annie to maybe talk a bit about your experience yesterday fasting, as well as why you joined and how you connect it to the rest of what we're doing.
Thanks, Reva. I'll talk about kind of my experience after I talk about kind of why I fast, because I think that's a good dovetail to what Maggie just talked about. So I fasted for fair and just education for adult learners as opposed to children in public education. But it's a good dovetail to what Maggie was just talking about, because a lot of the learners that I work with, I work in adult literacy and help working with, kind of quote unquote mature students trying to get back into formal education. So I think in many ways I'm working with students who have survived the aftermath when public education does not work. And a lot of them, I wouldn't say, necessarily all of them, but a lot of them have had very bad, even traumatic experiences through formal education, through public education. And that's kind of, people dropping out, when they're still children. One person that I'm working with, he's only in his 50s and he dropped out, at grade 6 at the age of 11. And he probably didn't do a whole lot during those 6 years, I can tell you that. But somehow, he got himself together and, after a lot of difficulties in life, to decide to come back and to want to go to school. He wanted to go to college. And I mean, I am humbled every single day working with these students and learners to think that I very much have taken education for granted, because schooling has never been terribly difficult for me. And I think that's kind of related to my experience fasting yesterday. It's also the first time that I do anything like this. I was just trying to get my mind off of meals and food most of the time. It's a very personal experience, but at the same time, I realized that, the fact that I chose to fast and that there's a choice in terms of, every day I choose what to eat, not so much that I need to choose if I eat or pay rent. Real choices. And even when it comes to, adult education, there's so many things that I've chosen to do because I have the privilege to do it. Because I have, worked through formal schooling, and then that opens up so many choices. I picked up, learning how to play cello 2 years ago, and no one would ever question why I would do it. Whereas I know, in terms of public funding for adult literacy programs, there's always that question: why do these people need to learn how to read and write? And as basic as something to learn how to read and write, it gets questioned. Why do they have to do it? Why do we have to fund it? Whereas no one ever questioned me why I picked up, the cello to learn really kind of late in life. I'm never going to be a concert, musician, but it's okay when I have the privilege to do it, and when someone's just trying to learn how to read and write and to express themselves, to participate in kind of, civil society, that's being questioned. And the funding is always under threat, unless you're, going to use it for work. It's a very limited, and I think it made me just kind of think about how that kind of adult education really strips away people's dignity, because they always have to feel like you have to justify. And so I think the fast kind of made me think a lot on my personal level that I never really have to justify what I do. That's a tremendous privilege, and the choices that I have are just, I've never felt limited. So I'm hoping that insight is something that I could take into the teaching that I do with different students, the research that I do in the field for adult literacy, and just also different community organizations working with people who are just, fighting or working through their vulnerabilities and just marginalization on a day-to-day basis. So that's I don't know if I'd do it again, because I really do like my food. But I mean, I have to admit that the insight was rather unexpected, because I didn't really know what to expect.
Annie, do you want to talk a little bit about how you link what you were fasting for with the goals of Jajaga?
So I think for a lot of the justice and peace piece, it's related to working with bringing people together. To me, literacy is a right that everyone has. And to be able to actually fulfill the promise of justice and peace, literacy, I mean, frankly, any education should be just a right that everyone should be able to have. You shouldn't have to beg for it. You shouldn't have to, go around and just, search high and low to look for places to access it. You should be able to, get whatever education you want, wherever you want, and in whatever form that works for you. So to me, that is a justice issue, and to be able to bring peace to it, again, I don't think it's fair for people to have to just always fighting and just begging for something that they should have in the first place.
Okay. All right. So one last thing, and then we'll go to Shauna. Annie, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about your involvement with IGINP Canada and some of the things there in terms of raising the funds for Jajagat and what that's meant to you.
So like Ray was mentioning before, we had two fundraising or kind of larger, better organized fundraising activities earlier in the year. It felt like an age ago. That was pre-pandemic. So it was good that we managed to get two events in just in time before everything stopped. I was really encouraged to see the level of interest that we managed to corral together, I suppose, because I was always kind of curious how people would see, something that seems to be happening so far away, and for goals that are gargantuan, is just huge. So things that seem so unachievable, but I mean, I was very encouraged to see that people don't seem daunted by it, and there's just no lack of interest and no lack of discussion. And I found, I mean, personally, I found it really, really encouraging, because, you know, this is tough work. It takes a lot of perseverance. So, I mean, I would love to keep, you know, be able to do more of that, because I think I also got a sense that there's just this thirst of being able to talk about these issues and being able to connect to something much bigger than kind of the struggles that we have on a day-to-day basis. So yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Annie. All right, so Shauna, we're going to turn to you next. And as I mentioned, Shauna is actually fasting today. And I will let her tell you a little bit more about her story.
Hello, everyone. Shauna Kumar here. I'm speaking from the unceded lands of the Tongva people in the San Gabrielino Mountains, which is in Los Angeles. And so I am fasting today. And what I'm realizing, by the way, it's only 7 a.m. So for me, so I have a way to go today. But I think that I need to bring more mindfulness to my eating again. I'm thinking about today about food as a gift from the earth, as a incredible resource, and how much hard work goes into bringing food to me. You know, and I can easily go to a grocery store and pick things up and not think about where my food comes from. So one of the things that fasting does for me is to redraw my attention to the way that food reaches me and the many lives that are responsible for, you know, for growing food, for harvesting it, bringing it to a place where I can receive it, and also the violence that sometimes goes into the way that food is produced. So I just want to honor the hard work and the people whose lives are touched by food that I eat and you know, beverages that I drink. So that is part of the reason why I'm fasting. And I also, it brings attention to me for the ways that all of our lives are interconnected and that we all, you know, we're all part of this one earth, and it's all we have. So how can we honor it? I'm specifically also thinking about the violence that occurs towards women in particular, as a woman, toward women, towards non-binary people, towards all people, but specifically thinking about women in the United States, where I am right now. You know, there are many things occurring. There's a lot of institutionalized racism. There's history of colonization. There's all kinds of stuff that devalues some bodies over others. And I recently heard about an alleged forced sterilization in an ICE facility, which is an immigration facility in Georgia. And it was widely reported in the news. And there's an investigation on that right now. I also think about forced sterilization that has occurred in Canada, where I'm from, that certain laws haven't been changed across the country. Only in British Columbia and in Alberta, I believe the laws were changed about forced sterilization. I heard as recently as 2018 that there was forced sterilization of an Indigenous woman. And so there are court cases going on about this. These are things that are not often reported. And I myself even, watch news, consume news, and I try to stay on top of things. But there are things that are forgotten because of the hierarchy of bodies and the way that people think of bodies in terms of this hierarchy of race. So I want to spend today thinking about that, thinking about also those people, women in particular, indigenous women that have disappeared in the United States and Canada. And so I am inspired today to make what I call a somatic body map, which is something I'll trace my body in a shape that I want to, and I'm going to be connecting my own internal process to these different issues that I'm talking about. Of course, we can't cover every issue in the world, and I always want to. My mind thinks very laterally, so I'm constantly making connections to all of these other things, or that I can fast for. But I want to focus on this issue. I'm also, connecting. I'm very connected in my heart with people of different continents around the world, and so I'm not only thinking about North America, but I wanted to just start there where I am and branch out from there. And in fact, the food that I discussed at the very beginning, if I think about that very mindfully, food or coffee, or where is it coming from, right? So those links are being made for me today. And it's very humbling, and I must say that it's emotional for me. So.
Shauna, can I ask you if you had a message for the people who are marching today, or the people who have been on the march? What would that message be?
Thank you. And also, I believe it's very important to feel empowered in our own bodies. It's very important to believe in what we're doing, and sometimes that can be very difficult. I watched Jama Jay's beautiful video at the beginning, which gave me some insight into some of the experiences that the marchers must have gone through. And I saw a lot of very cold weather and, sore feet that were being wrapped, and many other images. And I also saw a lot of joy and a lot of beauty. And I saw sharing food. I saw a community. And so my message is thank you, and be empowered, because we need you. Yeah.
Thanks, Shauna. I wanted to just sort of wrap up today, or our little panel today, with a few things. One is to say that we are continuing our fast until October 2nd, and there are many different causes people are fasting for, whether it's in support of protesters across North America, defunding the military, the issue of ethics in our daily lives, housing for all, homes for all, support for mothers, and particularly single mothers, climate activism, and towards ending colonialism in all its forms. There are many, many issues, many ideas, many things that we are thinking about. I think Annie and Shauna and Maggie too all mentioned that these are big issues, and sometimes they can be overwhelming. And what we wanted to try to do was to say each one of us is doing our part. We're all thinking of something in particular. We're all working for something in particular, and together is how we achieve the peace that we want. If we do it, as my mother would say, with a clean heart and with love, then we will achieve peace. It's not impossible. If we thought it was impossible, we would give up. We want to particularly send our love, our greetings, our blessings, our support to our colleagues in Europe, our friends in Europe who are marching, to say that it is so important that you are holding up the flag for Jai Jagat when the rest of us are isolated. We're in Canada, where they're talking about potentially another lockdown soon. So as we sit in our places and think about you, our hearts just swell with pride. I don't think I have anything else that I wanted to say. And I wonder if there's any other message that any of my friends would like to contribute before we turn the mic back to Gary.
If it's okay, Rava, I'd just add on a little bit to your beautiful words there. I think if I could stand in front of the marchers, I would tell them that their embodiment of Gandhiji's principles and of principles of nonviolence. Sometimes when I read or I encounter Gandhiji's words, they stay on the page. They're beautiful, they resonate, but they stay on the page. And when I'm confronted with commitment, such as the marchers and Jai Jagat are undertaking, I see it in action, and it's walking around and it's shaking the world in a gentle way. And I am reminded of the practical, real world power of these principles. And so I'm tremendously grateful and inspired by them. Thank you.
Shauna, did you want to say something?
I do, thank you. I love that, Rava, that you mentioned your mother, and I wanted to recognize and call the spirit of both your mother and your father, who are so important to this cause, and unfortunately have passed from this world. And I am grateful and honored to have met them, and that, like, to know that they have influenced me a little bit, you know, and also more so through you, of course. But I wanted to like, because they touched my life, and their age and their commitment with this type of movement, I wanted to just recognize them today, and just mention that in the context of this. And my heart goes out to those people that are marching right now too. And thank you.
Thanks, Shauna. Annie, we'll turn the last word to you then.
I think I want to say, if I could say anything to the marchers, I would say at times it might feel like it's just yourself putting one foot in front of the other. And I think for, you know, some of us doing the fast, we're doing it by ourselves, especially in this kind of quarantine isolation environment. It feels very, very alone, but in no ways are we actually by ourselves. I think I personally draw a lot of strength out of knowing that there are people marching, and also there are other people fasting. but but still, you know, individual actions add up together. So I also know that I shouldn't get too comfortable just knowing that other people are doing their thing, that I don't have to do anything. So there's a kind of an interesting balance between individual and collective actions. So we're all in it together in a good way.
So to just say then that as we go on in our fast, oh, sorry, Maggie, did you want to add something? Oh, can't hear you, Maggie.
There we go. How's that? Actually, I just wanted to thank everyone, and with apologies to Gary and to all of you. I'll bow out now if that's okay. I have to prepare for another meeting, but I want to thank you all for attending, and to my fellow panelists. It was a joy to listen to you, and it's a privilege to join you in this fast. So I will try to keep in touch, and thank you for your forbearance, and I wish you a good day, good health.
Thanks,
Thank
Maggie.
you. Thank you, Meg. Before you go.
So I just wanted to say that just finally, before I turn it back to Gary, that we are daily, we're posting on the Mahatma Gandhi Canadian Foundation Facebook, a message, a statement from each of the people who is fasting. So please look for those. We'll eventually collect all of those and put them onto our website as well. And join us in our fast if you feel, and send us messages and posts and let us know what you're doing as well. We thank you all for giving us this opportunity, and the three of us will see you again on Sunday as part of the Educating for Justice Through Peace session that will be on Saturday, or sorry, on Sunday, September 27th. And we look forward to seeing you then. Gary.
Thank you so much, Reva-ji, and thank you all the panelists. And this has been a mesmerizing experience of listening to various experiences and stories of change and internalization and how peace has changed lives of the people. This has been a wonderful experience. Thank you so much for bringing such vast experience. And to take the session ahead, may I request my friend Janmajay to please take over. Thank you. Janmajay, over to you, my friend.
Thank you, sir. So I will not take up almost any more of everyone's time. I'd just like to wrap it up with two last things from my end. One is that there is a fantastic series of podcasts going on called Speaking Our Piece, which Reva-ji and the Canada team are running. So here's a small trailer from that. And the other thing is just a song to, help us conclude the session on a happy note and a note of hope. So Jai Jagat, everyone. I'm just going to share it. I hope you enjoy.
At this time, particularly when the whole world is in such turmoil, I feel that it is so much needed. The rays of hope are so much needed. And when somebody talks from their heart, people really listen.
I've done kind of semi-active volunteering for probably good 13 years or so. But like, I always felt like I was just by myself. And so the more that I get into it, the more I see that there are also other people in similar situations that have actually been doing all kinds of wonderful work. Doing a podcast, talking to people, sharing stories could be all part of it. And I think no matter how small it seems, I'm hoping that the podcast could actually bring all the small stories together and give people a sense of that they're belonging to something bigger.
I am excited to kind of connect with people doing nonviolence work in lots of different fields and lots of different places as a way of showing that we stand together, as a way of witnessing people who are doing that work and saying, we see you and we believe in you and you have support here. But also to connect to a listener and, you know, show them that there's proof that good is being done.
And I somehow feel that while we will do this, we will find similar souls in different places, and maybe we connect them to each other.
Speaking Our Piece is a podcast that brings you stories of individuals and communities from all over the world, united by one concept, that if we want justice and peace, we must each take nonviolent action. Join us in conversations with scholars, educators, and activists on the ground who have given their lives to this cause. If you would like to contact the podcast, please email us at speakingourpiece@gmail.com. And that's peace as in PEACE.
Stand up, you'll see some way, somehow. We will ignite change now. Take a look at things usually around us. The mood it brings, the beauty that surrounds us. Our duty, it seems, is all gonna amount up. The movement is seen right now, so mount up. Fight today and it might stay in sight's range. One night a day and the light will ignite things. Be strong, move on, and it might change. Through song we can spark and ignite change.
Some people want time, but they don't know what to do with it. Some people die trying just to get a little bit. Pump up your prime, your potential's not a crime. It is an element of who you are, so to yourself be kind. Turn your words into action. Let your knowledge gain traction. Sitting on your back, you never gain satisfaction. Be a part of something bigger, still it's a fraction.
Hands up with me and say this loud. We will ignite change now. Stand up, you'll see some way, somehow. We will ignite change now. Citizens of Earth, we're all equal and we're innocent at our birth. From every continent, what we're worth is what we're giving, not how much we spend. Second, how many more will have to suffer till we unify? Human rights for all, man and woman, young and old, come on and raise the call. Hands up with me and say this loud. We will ignite change now. Stand up, you'll see some way, somehow. We will ignite change now.
We're born to transform, grown to conform. So debone your skeletons, develop your soul. Cause the world's not a stage, it's a page. You can draw, you can write, gripe, and you can rip it away. Your only fate is to make mistakes. It's never too late to erase your ways. A fresh slate for a fresh face. Feel the ink flow from your hands to your brain to your legs and take shape in the streetscape.
Feel it in my heart, it's time to start. Hold it, I can't control it, it is flowing off the charts. Creative energy flowing through our veins. Can't stop, won't stop, youth have taken in the reins. Get on the good foot, it's just begun. It's the creative cipher, all love under the sun. Express your range, use your talents now, just be the change.
I will be the change I wanna see. Nothing, no one is stopping me. Sisters, bros, stand up, unite. Be the spark, set it alight. All together, I know we can do anything. It starts with me and you. It's our chance, we're the generation igniting change in every nation. Stand up, you'll see somehow we will achieve. Ignite change now, stand up. You'll see some way, somehow we will achieve. Il est ouvert, sans tes manières que sont multipartiendo. Il ne change maintenant, levez-vous vers elle, sans tes manières en quelque sorte.
Ta 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 ta.
Stand up, you'll see some way, somehow we will ignite change now.
Thank you everyone for
much,
being the
Janmajay.
change that you want to see in this world.
Thank you so much, Janmajay, for this uplifting music. Thank you, Janmajay, for this peacefully divine music. And friends, thank you all for joining us tonight here in India and morning there in Canada for this wonderful webinar. And I hope that you stay with us through the next 10 days when we're having a series of Gandhian actions. For more information, you can go to our website. Stay tuned. This entire webinar will be up on our website soon. And the website is jaijagat2020.org. Thank you very much and good day. Stay peaceful. Thank you.